Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. This one is going to be an update on the Shadow of Kyoshi, so the second Kyoshi novel. We have basically most of the preview kind of material except the cover for the book, so we know the release date, page count, and then we have a description. Just no cover, unfortunately. But because we have all of this, it makes me feel like the cover will be coming at some point soon. I'm actually very interested to see what's on the cover, just because like they can't just have it be another picture of Kyoshi and that's the only thing on the cover. Like I'd like to see Kyoshi and Rangi or something like that. Kyoshi and some spirits in the background based on the description or whatever. I hope it's not just a different just solo Kyoshi image, but we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, so yeah, Shadow of Kyoshi is the name, of course, we already knew that. July 21st, 2020 is the release date, so pretty much a year between the release date of the first book and this book. That's perfectly fine. That's great. We don't have to wait a massive amount of time for the book. Page count right now is set at 368, so compared to Rise of Kyoshi, that's like about 80 pages shorter, but the Rise of Kyoshi was initially announced as only having about 338 pages, and then it was bumped up to obviously 448, so it got increased by about 100 pages. This could still go up, of course. They're just saying that, like, I suppose at least 368 pages here. I'd be shocked if there was that big of a difference in the length of these books. But anyway, of course it's going to be a hardcover book and so on. But anyway, here's the description. The epic can't miss follow-up to the New York Times best-selling Avatar The Last Airbender, The Rise of Kyoshi. Kyoshi's place as the true Avatar has finally been cemented, but at a heavy cost. With her mentors gone, Kyoshi voyages across the four nations, struggling to keep the peace. But while her reputation grows, a mysterious threat emerges from the spirit world. To stop it, Kyoshi, Rangi, and their reluctant allies must join forces before the four nations are destroyed irreparably. This thrilling follow-up concludes Kyoshi's journey from a girl of humble origins to a merciless pursuer of justice, still feared and admired centuries after becoming the Avatar. So, last line there it's basically the exact same, except it says, this thrilling follow-up continues Kyoshi's journey. So, you know, that's just saying that they're using that as the tagline for the overall like journey of Kyoshi. But the rest of the stuff is new. So, okay, her place as the true Avatar has finally been cemented. That's like the end of the book. She's out there in the open as the Avatar at a heavy cost. All the people she lost along the way. With her mentors gone, and her mentors obviously being well, it could refer to a lot of characters. Is it referring to like Kelsang specifically, or is it referring to the fact that like Kirima, Wong, Laoji, Rangi are like gone because they left, basically because Kyoshi had to go off on her own at the end of the book, or what? But anyway, Kyoshi voyages across the four nations, struggling to keep the peace. So she's being active as the Avatar. This is what we expected the book to cover to some degree. Her meeting the leaders of the nations, you know, Earth King, Fire Lord, Water Tribe chiefs, that sort of thing, makes complete sense. That's what she has to do. There's a bit of a vacuum with like, oh, she's confirmed to be the Avatar, but they were dealing with Yoon for a certain amount of time. Kyoshi's going to have to step up in a lot of different ways, and it's going to be tough for her because she's kind of Dao Fei now, you know, and she actually agrees with some of those kind of ideals. She's not going to be, you know, adapt particularly well to dealing with the higher ups of the different nations and stuff like that. She won't stand on ceremony with them because of the style of character that she is. So that's going to be very interesting. While her reputation grows, a mysterious threat emerges from the spirit world. So there we go. That's like the big plot thing that we're sort of waiting to hear about. And I assume that's going to be what Karuk at the end of the first book is telling her about. That this is what he needs help with. I hope they're linking Karuk's past and this like ongoing threat that the spirits have been planning something for years. Like the end stages of Karuk's life plus in the gap between avatars, and now Kyoshi has to stop this before it plays out. I think that would be really cool to get across some idea that like the reason he took out Umi was to like distract Karuk from what the spirits were planning, and that there is a deeper plot going on here with the spirits trying to do something. What's interesting though is that obviously we're in an era here, the spirit portals are closed. In general, spirits shouldn't be able to really transfer between worlds apart from those few spirits who have the ability, like Heibai, to just transfer directly between the worlds. Wan Shi Tong can do it. He's able to bring his library like back and forth between the spirit world and the physical world without the portals being open. That sort of thing. So is that going to be explored, explained, and stuff like that? But we'll have to wait and see. So, to stop it, Kyoshi, Rangi, and their reluctant allies must join forces before the four nations are destroyed irreparably. Now, if this was the description to one of the comics, I'd sort of almost dismiss the, dramatic intent of this line, because that seems huge. The four nations destroyed irreparably by this, spirit incident that the team needs to come together to defeat. Like, if that was in the comics, like, that's just like, yeah, it's probably a little bit of a threat, but it's not that bad. Here, though, because of how good Rise of Kyoshi was, you kind of have to give them the credit, and, like, there probably is going to be something huge that happens here. What exactly the plot is, it's hard to tell, but, something that could destroy the nations, the spirits doing something to make that happen. That's interesting to think about, even if there's not a lot to really speculate on right now. But I think the most exciting thing for a lot of people is that it confirms Kyoshi and Rangi are going to be together, at least for a certain stage in this book. That the main Kyoshi forming her team up again, her team avatar back together, involves Rangi. That the end of the book, you could have went either way on it. That, like, the way Lao Ji talked about, like, Rangi going off on her own, like, when you return, you might not be the same people. They could still go for that. Like, they still might just be teammates. The relationship in terms of romance may not be the same when they come back together. They might have gone on different paths. We don't even know if there's like a time skip between then and now, and that sort of stuff. So there's still the option to do like an arc with Kyoshi and Rangi, and they probably will, but at the very least Rangi's going to be in the book. She's not just going to like appear suddenly like right towards the end because she's been away with her mother for a long time. It seems like Rangi's going to be there for a good amount of the book. I think it will be, the first section of the book will still probably be Kyoshi on her own, but Rangi will come in and get good page count. By reluctant allies, I do wonder, do they mean Kirima and Wong from the Flying Opera Company? Because, it's a bit weird that they mentioned at the start with her mentors gone, and that would be like Kirima, Wong, and Lao Ji. But it would also include Rangi, since Rangi thought Kyoshi, but then they're saying she teams up. Is she saying that she gets her mentors back, or are they referring to different people as allies here? Because, like, would Kirima and Wong be reluctant to help out the Avatar? They seem to be on Kyoshi's side at the end, that they were willing to help her and follow her wherever she needed to. So I'm almost thinking, like, are these different characters that they're talking about here? Maybe more of the people guiding her as the Avatar or whatever, but we have to wait and see. I assume there will be some new character who's maybe like an airbending companion with them. It might be the guy at the end that she was talking to of the first book, but again, we have to wait and see what exactly they do. And then obviously no mention of Yun is very interesting. Now, he could be involved in this spirit world plot. That I think Father Glowworm could be involved in this spirit world plot. It could involve Ko and him, which could include Yun and everything. Yun could just be a sort of interesting factor throughout different aspects of the book, but there's no like main plot with him. He just kind of comes in and out, and they address the character dynamic between Kyoshi and him. It's hard to tell what exactly they're going to do with him, but obviously they weren't going to spoil what they do with him in the description here. But you have to keep your eye, you have to remember that he's still out there and very, very important in the middle of everything. So yeah, I like this. This makes sense to me, that like we're going to start off, we're not going to be immediately in the middle of all the crazy action. Kyoshi probably will have heard what Karuk said. It'll be interesting to see how much she like believes him, or does she dismiss him because of her opinion on how weak he was as an Avatar. But she's going to have to do her political role as the Avatar, the diplomat stuff, and that will be just an interesting like world building section at the start of the book. Then the spirit world threat will rise up. That will form the team back together. You can sort of see how the book's going to play out, and I like that we have a sense of that, whereas I think up until like a week or so before release, we didn't really get the greatest sense for what the first book was going to be like, but now that we do, we have a much better sense of the writing style and so on. Similarly, FCE did mention something on Twitter here. You can see here he mentioned just randomly, currently trying to figure out how many Fire Lord portraits there would be in the gallery before Sozin if Kyoshi were to visit the royal palace as a teen. It's very difficult. I got a spreadsheet going and everything. So that's interesting. That confirms to us Kyoshi goes to visit the royal palace to see the Fire Lord, and he's asking the question for one of his world building details: how many Fire Lord portraits would there be? This is the stuff he thinks about when he's writing the book, getting those details correct. For anyone wondering, I gave it the answer. I think I was one of the only people to actually give an answer that like is trying to give him an answer. My logic was this: depending on when the first Fire Lord story, which is also the Kamurakage story from Smoke and Shadow, is set, he unites the Fire Islands, which effectively creates the Fire Nation, and the Rise of Kyoshi seems to tease the idea that the nations themselves are less than 4,000 years old. Zahir says that Lahima was 4,000 years ago, and that Laoji says that he was around at the same time as Lahima, and then Kyoshi says that he is older than the nations. So if Kyoshi is 16, at 16 is around 466 years before Book 3 change, so you have to figure out how many Fire Lords is there in about 3,500 years, because of course, first Fire Lord forms the Fire Nation. It's basically, including the first Fire Lord, how many Fire Lords is there until Sozin, and then what times that is that the first book did basically all but say the nations as we know them are less than 4,000 years old. So it's all up to, you know, how many Fire Lords are there in that amount of time. Because similarly, like the Earth Kings, like if you take it that way, like is there really only like 50 something Earth Kings in this time? But obviously it's completely up in the air. But yeah. So yeah, we wait to see what the cover is. Like I said, I hope it's more than just a picture of Kyoshi. I think a lot of people would like to see what Rangi is actually meant to look like. There's been some cool fan art of her, but I'd like to actually see what she looks like. See what Yun looks like, that sort of thing. Will it be Kyoshi and some spirits? Who knows? But either way, so excited for this book. Very, very interested, especially now that we know there's going to be a spirit world aspect and they're really going to go in on that. Plus Kyoshi interacting with the other nations is going to be very cool. The first book was obviously very Earth Kingdom focused, and we learned a lot about it. I'd love to see Kyoshi's reaction to learning more about, you know, the Water Tribe culture, the Fire Nation especially the Fire Nation like before Sozin, to see what it was like before, like as it was building towards becoming that prosperous, but not quite the way it was after Sozin. That's going to be very, very interesting to just see the Fire Nation. So that's going to be very cool. Yeah. That's pretty much all there is to say right now. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are in the description here. What are your thoughts on what's going on here? A big setup here. 4 nations destroyed irreparably, potentially, if things go wrong. We obviously know it doesn't happen, but that's what they're teasing in terms of stakes and a big spirit world threat. What does that mean? So let me know what your thoughts are, the speculation on that sort of stuff, and how hyped you are for this book. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.